come aboard, and bring along every One Piece fanboy you know. Today I'm talking about my top 5 characters in One Piece, one of my favorite anime. I plan to make this kind of thing for Naruto, Dragon Ball, etc. Not gonna lie, I'm really excited about this one, so let's get into it. Number 1. It's a bird, it's a plane, nope, it's just a heavenly demon flying through the sky with strings. Don Quixote do Flamingo is such a chilling character who, as they say, had his hands dipped in many sinister soups. He was a former celestial dragon, as well as warlord of the sea. He was the king of the Dressrosa country for 10 years, and operated in the underworld using the alias Joker. He sandwiched himself between a former mad scientist and an emperor of the sea. And with all of these, he managed to create a network for himself that would grant him immunity to every side. He was the ultimate plug, and his devil fruit powers absolutely fit his manipulative personality. And his backstory is just as chilling as you'd expect. Based on what we knew about the world at the time, it makes so much sense the backstory happened the way it did. It made sense that Homing, Doflamingo's, and Rosinate's father, would be so ignorant to the true extent of everyone's hatred for his kind, given his sheltered lifestyle. It makes sense that the people did what they did to Dofi's family. It makes sense that Dofi was the way that he was through and through. I also love the contrast between Dofi and Rosinante, and their connection to law. Speaking of which, number 2. The Sergeant of Death, Trafalgar D. Water Law. Despite the name, he's generally a pretty chill dude. More than that though, the way this man's goals and ambitions prove vital to the bigger picture of One Piece's story is fascinating. His curiosity for the will of D would be the nail in the coffin that would set him free from Dofi's stranglehold. Well, that and the fact that the latter murdered the former's big brother figure. Law worked his way up the ranks of the government in order to gain access to the likes of Caesar. From there, it was a matter of destroying the Smile factories in order to weaken and defeat Kaido and his army. I've no doubt he got his cunningness from Dofi, and the man's backstory was tragic as all hell too. Seeing Rosinante fight as hard as he did to save Law's life, as well as free him from Dofi, was heartbreaking. He of all people knew how poisonous Dofi's view on the world was, and wouldn't have wanted Law's life or freedom to be thrown away for his brother or anyone else. Also, Rosinate's and Dofi's backstory is a great show of nature versus nurture, with an already demented Dofi being enabled and raised by an evil gang, and a probably messed up Rosinante being nurtured and cared for by Sengoku. It makes so much sense the two brothers went in completely opposite directions in terms of character. Wait, who was this segment about again? Oh yeah. Point is, I love Law and the way he changed the course of One Piece's story, and the Straw Hat's destiny. I also just like how chill he is. Number 3. A man so badass, so legendarily mighty that his exploits, even as a mere infant, went down in Wano's history. Kozuki Oden, the man who would have become shogun of Wano. First and foremost, he was a man who valued his freedom, refusing to be confined to his country. In a way, he was to Wano what Gold Roger was to the rest of the world. It got to the point that he forced himself to hang onto Whitebeard's ships for, I believe, 3 days and nights, for the chance to sail the world with his crew. And his adventures with both Whitebeard's and Roger's crew was a treat that brought out the One Piece fanboy in me. I also love the reveal of his ability to read poneglyphs, and that moment in the Skypiea segment of the backstory was a cool callback. Oden is a man who, through life and death, endured. He's a representation of the samurai's iron will and strength. He was done dirty by both Kaido and Toki. What did Toki do, you ask? She didn't abort that goddamn disgrace of an offspring they call Momonosuke, like the Oden did by the time he was Momo's age. Bro, no way. Not too much to say about my boy Oden. He's an absolute beast of a man, but at the same time, endured so much pain and humiliation for the sake of his people. He's an inspiration for us all, as the pinnacle of freedom, endurance, and strength. Also, he definitely has the will of D. I'm just saying. Number 4. One of the realest ones in all of One Piece. First son of the sea, and helmsman of the Straw Hat crew, Jinbei. This man, or fishman, is probably the perfect fishman to usher in an era of peace between human and fishman kind. Yes, most fishmen experience some kind of discrimination by humans, but Jinbei has been aligned and close to humans on several occasions. He's seen the good and evil of both sides. The good of fishmen in Fisher Tiger freeing the slaves at Marichua, and all the bad and hatred in Arlong. The bad in the world government, and the good in Whitebeard, Ace, and especially the Straw Hats. Jinbei's story is one of racism and prejudice, bearing the pain of his people as well as his own pain while trying to bridge the gap between human and merfolk. I know I mentioned before that Odin was the pinnacle of endurance, but I don't know. Jinbei watched his idol, betrayed by the humans he strove to protect, die before him, but not before literally trauma dumping all the horrifying shit he went through as a slave, putting all the darkness and suppressed feeling in his heart on display for the Sun Pirates. I usually think of Jinbei's and Nami's backstories as the inverse of each other, but really, they're one in the same. It goes to show that racism spreads like poison, and once the cycle begins, it's so hard to stop. But more than the pain he endured, what I love most about Jinbei is that he doesn't let it affect his judgment of others. It's one thing to experience the tragedy of racism, but if you let it skew your worldview, you'll just end up another product. The point is, Jinbei is actually the GOAT, and his interactions with the rest of the Straw Hat crew is great. Side note, it's so touching and perfect that he joined Luffy's crew. Number 5. Oh my god. When I first saw this character, I didn't expect him to be my favorite, but the way his backstory changed our entire view of his decisions up to that point through the sweet power of hindsight, amazing. I'm talking about the Tyrant, the Human Weapon, the former Warlord, and dare I say the Buccaneer, Bartholomew Kuma. This list wasn't in order per se, but Kuma is definitely my favorite character. His first appearance at the end of Thriller Bark was shrouded in mystery, being both a warlord and apparently having connections to the Revolutionary Army. His next appearance in Saba Odi sees him sending the Straw Hats to different directions across the world, and his appearance after that in Marineford is as nothing but a mindless killing machine, literally. At this point, we have so many questions. Why did Kuma spare the Straw Hats, twice? How did he know all these places that he sent the Straw Hats to? Did he purposely send them to islands perfectly suiting their skill sets? Why did he agree to become an unthinking, lifeless weapon for the world government? As questions about Kuma were answered on the descent to Fishman Island, more were raised, and the way his backstory gave so much context for everything he did, from Thriller Bark to Saba Odi, and everything before and after. It gives so much humanity, purpose, and tragedy to his character. I also really love the relationship between Kuma and Bonnie. It makes his abuse and inhumane treatment at the hands of the government all the more tragic, and acts as a whole new motivation for Bonnie's character. Kuma is one of the characters that are pretty much vital to the story, as the idea of freedom, or lack thereof, is prevalent in his life. And, I mean, the fact that his devil fruit so perfectly matches his character is great too. It makes that whole scene with him and Zoro at Thriller Bark so much better than just, nothing happened. The manga is currently on the Elbaf arc, but I'm sorry, all I can think about is how they'll resolve Kuma's lobotomy arc. God, so much I want to say about this character. But for now, I'll say this. Bartholomew Kuma is the realest one out there, and my favorite character in all of One Piece. This one was a blast to make. You don't know how much I love this anime. So many great and fun characters, and again, I'm looking to make this kind of video with other anime that I love. You know the deal. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and how I could maybe improve. Crazy editing and visuals aren't really my style though, but still let me know what you think. And with that, I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye now.